Good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to Hardee's for this weekend's edition of Coach's Corner. Back to be in the saddle this week. Thanks to Preston last week for taking care of business for me as I was out of town. I'm happy to have him take care of things for me. So it's a week prior to deer hunting season. Of course, next weekend everybody will be busy about this time, so I'm sure everybody making their preparations. Let's go back to last night. The Rainy River Voyagers rounding out their regular season at home in the volleyball match against the Central Lakes Raiders, the number one team in the Northern Division, and Central Lakes comes away with a 3-0 win, 25-23, 25-8, 25-18. Tiana Terry led the way for the Voyagers. She had 9 kills, followed by Sandy Thompson. She had 9 kills and 8 digs. Allison Sautry had 10 digs for the Voyagers. The ladies will wrap up their regular season today at noon as they will take on number 2 in the Northern Division, and that is the Northland Pioneers. The Voyagers will not be able to qualify for the playoffs. Their loss last night assured that, and again, that match goes on at noon at Rainy River Community College. The Muskie girls hockey team opened play last night in the Scott Clendenning Memorial Showcase that is being played all weekend in Fort Francis. The Muskie girls faced the Queens Midget A team last night. They fell by a final score of 2-0. The Muskies girls play Beaver Bray at 12:15 today and the Thunder Bay Fury at 6:15 tonight before wrapping up that tournament tomorrow. The Fort Francis Lakers were in Thief River Falls last night. Matter of fact, they're in Thief River Falls tonight as they'll play a pair of 7 o'clock games. Game 1 last night saw the Norskies win their 11th straight game to start the season. Wow. As they downed the Lakers 5-2. Noah Lovejoy scored in the second period. Jack Burney in the third for the Fort, but wasn't enough as they fall 5-2. Rob Ivey saved 33 of 38 shots in goal last night. Again, game 2 is tonight at 7 o'clock. Of course, last night in the Northland, a lot of volleyball action going on, so let's start in Section 7-3A. Grand Rapids, the number 1 seed, they take care of Princeton in 3 sets. St. Francis over Anoka in 5 sets. Forest Lake downs Andover in 3, and Elk River has to go 5 to take care of Blaine. So that sets up semifinals in Section 7-3A. St. Francis is at Grand Rapids on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Forest Lake is at Elk River. In Section 7-2A, the section that the Broncos are in, North Branch, the number 1 seed overall in Section 7-2A and ranked by the QRF, number 2 in the state. They sweep out Cloquet. Duluth Marshall sweeps Duluth Denfeld. Greenway, who took on Proctor, who eliminated the Falls on Wednesday night. They defeat Proctor 25-11, 25-9, 25-16. Hermantown takes care of Virginia in 4 sets. So Wednesday night semifinals at Duluth Denfeld. Hermantown faces North Branch, and Duluth Marshall versus Greenway. Those matches going at 5:30 and 7:30. In Section 7A last night, Cook County, the number 2 seed, takes out Moose Lake Willow River in 4 sets. Carlton, the number 1 seed out of the South, also had to go 4 sets. They defeat Cromwell Wright. Cherry got the big upset last night. Deer River, the number 1 seed out of the North. Cherry, the number 4. Cherry eliminates Deer River in 5 sets, 15-10 in the 5th. And Northwoods, the number 2 seed, defeats Hill City in 4 sets. So now semifinals in Hibbing at the high school. At the elementary school on Wednesday night at 5:30. Northwoods versus number 1 Carlton, and Cook County number 2 takes on number 4 Cherry. Of course, today is a big semifinal section football going on across the area. Let's start with the big schools. Grand Rapids hosts North Branch, is at North Branch at 2 o'clock today. Grand Rapids and North Branch played just a couple weeks ago. North Branch won very convincingly. Hermantown, the number 5 seed, they take on number 1 Cloquet, and we'll talk a little bit about where that game's being played in a moment. Two Harbors is at Proctor in Section 7-3A. Greenway Greenway is at Esco. Moose Lake Willow River is playing Barnum, and Aiken is at Royalton in Section 7-2A. Section 7-1A, Deer River at Hinckley Finlayson, and East Central at number 1 Bram. Looking at the 9-man in Section 5, Floodwood plays Renshaw, and Southridge plays Cromwell. Those games are going on there in 9-man. And then in Section 7 in the northern 9 teams, Ely is at Northwoods at 2 o'clock, MIB at Cook County at 2 o'clock. because of the weather in Duluth, I'm sure maybe, obviously, you've looked outside, a little bit of snow. Duluth got like 10 inches of snow yesterday and dealt with some weather. So there's going to be a quadruple header played at Esco today. So they're going to start off with 9-man football, Floodwood versus Wrenshall at 10 o'clock. Then Esco is going to host Greenway Nashua Keewatin at 1 o'clock, just as scheduled. Moose Lake Barnum, that battle for the little brown jug that they play for in the playoffs this time, is going to go off at 4 o'clock. And then Cloquet versus Hermantown at 7 o'clock. So a high school football fans delight today at Cloquet, or excuse me, at Esco, as there will be 4 games there. And I'm looking down and I'm see that we're having a little technical issue. Am I back, Chad? Seeing what has happened here, and looks like I'm back. So, okay. We're back on, and again, I'm not sure where we lost you, but big day of football going on. So let's continue on. College hockey last night in the Big Ten, Penn State in overtime over Michigan 5-4, and the NCHC North Dakota, the number 4 team in the nation, loses to Colorado College 2-1. In the WCHA last night, Ferris State and Bemidji State, they tie at 2, and Mankato gets the better of Michigan Tech 3-1. Some non-conference games last night. Denver, the number 1 team in the nation, they beat Boston University, who's ranked 6th, 4-3. UMD goes all the way out to Maine. They win 2-1. Notre Dame 5-4 over Nebraska Omaha. The Gophers down Clarkson 3-1. And Wisconsin gets the better of St. Lawrence 4-2. Women's hockey yesterday, Minnesota Duluth 3-2 over Bemidji State, and St. Cloud State beat Mankato 4-2. Of course, the big matchup in the WCHA and women's hockey this weekend, Wisconsin is at Minnesota for a pair of games starting today and tomorrow. The Minnesota Timberwolves played Oklahoma City for the second time in 8 days last night, this time at their newly renovated Target Center, and the game went back and forth. If you had a chance to watch it, you couldn't really leave for more than a minute or two, and the lead was changing. The Wolves would build a 6-point lead with about 1:42 left in the game, and boy, I'll tell you what, folks, they tried to give it away. They wanted OKC to win that game for some reason. They turned the ball over twice in the final minute, but they win 119-116. Carl Anthony Town, 33 points, 19 rebounds in the game. Jimmy Butler, who missed the last 2 games with a respiratory infection, he scored 25, and new point guard Jeff Teague had a double-double of 17 points and 10 assists. World Series Game 3 last night returns to Houston, and the Astros, who got a split in Los Angeles, turned the home field advantage over to them, exploded for 4 runs on 5 hits in the second inning, and that chased Dodger starter Yu Darvish from the game. The Dodgers got to within 5-3 in the 6th inning, but there would be no more scoring in that game as Houston holds on to win 5-3 and now leads the series 2-1. Game 4 is tonight at 7 o'clock. Well, what's going on locally? We've talked a lot of what's going on locally. The bowling team, the undefeated bowling team down in Grand Rapids for their final regular season meet, looking forward to the state tournament. That meet starts at noon. We already talked about Rainy River Volleyball. They are at home against Northland at noon. Muskie Girls Hockey Team, a couple of games at 12:15 and 6:15 today, and their Scott Glendenning Memorial Showcase going on over in Fort Francis. And, of course, we talked about all the semifinal action going on. The Lakers at Thief River at 7 o'clock. Let's move on to college football. The Gopher, big game in Iowa today. Always a big game when you're playing for Floyd of Rosedale. Lots of memories about Floyd of Rosedale for me, anyway, personally. They're at Iowa at 5:30. That game is on FS1, not on the Big Ten or ESPN. UMD played VSU in an absolute snowstorm on Thursday night in Bemidji. UMD wins 17-0. St. Cloud is at home against Northern State. North Dakota State takes on Northern Iowa at 2:30. UND is out in Oregon to take on Portland State at 6 o'clock. Big day in the big boys college football. Number 2 Penn State at number 6 Ohio State at 2:30. I think that will have my attention for a share of the afternoon. Number 4 TCU at number 25 Iowa State. How many times do you get to say number 25 Iowa State? That just doesn't seem to make sense. That game is at 2:30, and also at 2:30, North Carolina State, number 14 in the nation, takes on number 9 Notre Dame at 2:30. Busy afternoon of watching college football. The Wild tonight, They take on the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins. That game is at 7 o'clock. Pre-game at 6:45 on KGHS 12:30 a.m. Tomorrow, the Vikings versus the Browns. You're going to have to get up early, folks, if you're used to sleeping in on Sunday mornings. Pre-game starts at 7:30 on K104, and the game kicks off at 8:30 a.m. from London. What's going on with our former Broncos? Well, Sydney Radboyne and the UND cross-country team, they're in Ogden, Utah today for the Big Sky Conference Championship. Taylor Hebner has the week off with the UMB cross-country team. Lexi Erickson, she's running in the MIAC Championship in Northfield today at noon for St. Kate's. Brandon Bears and the University of Minnesota Morris football team, they lost by a touchdown last week to Iowa Wesleyan. They are at home against Northwestern today at 6 o'clock. Maddie Filipiak and the Bemidji State volleyball team, they were at University of Mary last night. The Beavers lost 3-0. Maddie had 4 kills and 4 blocks, and they are at Minot State this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Isabella Edisted and Claire Palm with the Rainy River volleyball team. We already talked about their 3-0 loss to Central Lakes last night, and of course they're at home today against Northland at noon. Amy Orn in the University of Wisconsin River Falls women's hockey team, they got a 3-3 tie last night against Norwich University in the Adrian College tournament, and they play again today. Sister Abby Orn, who was playing for Concordia Moorhead, they got a 5-2 win last night over Northland College, and they play again this afternoon as well. Lexi Edwards, who's playing with the women's hockey team out of Sacred Heart, they got a win last night 6-3 over Johnson and Wales College out of Rhode Island. This was after they lost a pair of games last weekend to Anselm. Lucas DeBenedict, he's playing for Northland College out of Ashland, Wisconsin. They were at home to open their season last night against St. Scholastica. Lucas started the game at center, assisted on the first goal of the game, end of the season for Northland, but they lose 3-2 to St. Scholastica. They play in Duluth against the Saints at 7 o'clock tonight. Abby Koshik with the Moorhead State University of Minnesota swim team. They went 2-4 last weekend at the St. Cloud Meet Big Quadrangular there, and last night they swam against the University of St. Falls. Sioux Falls, they get a big win there, and Abby swam in the 400 free relay, took 4th in the 100 backstroke and 3rd in the 200 backstroke. They swim this morning at 10 o'clock against Augustana. Willie Korn had a big night last night. He had 3 assists in the 6-5 loss for the Brampton Beast to Wheeling. Brampton is now 0-5-1 on the season, but Willie in those 6 games has a goal and 6 assists. We're going to take a break, and we're going to continue to talk hockey as we're going to bring in the Rainy River Community College women's hockey team. You're listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardee's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. All right. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We're going to talk Rainy River women's hockey, and joining me, Lexi Graves. You're probably familiar, most of you that are listening, probably familiar with Lexi Graves. You've been here like your whole life, right? I mean, that kind of narrows it down. And Amy Fafard, and well, Amy, we might as well let you introduce yourself. You drove in with the Manitoba plates on, so that tells me you're from Canada anyway, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and hold that microphone up. Go ahead. Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Dauphin, Manitoba. I came down here because my sister actually came to Rainy River 5 years ago. Played hockey and softball as well.
And so now you had to follow in the footsteps because you had so much fun, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to play a couple seasons of softball, or just one?
Yep. Just one.
Just one. And so now the hockey season is upon us. And which one do you enjoy more, the softball or the hockey?
I think I'll have to say softball as of right now. But I think I'm leaning a little bit towards hockey once it gets going.
Sure, I understand that. So we were talking before we went on the air here. Limited numbers. Team had to take a year off due to numbers, and now back. And Lexi, we were talking 8 skaters and a goaltender. No problem with getting playing time, right?
No, I think most of us are in pretty good shape, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. Our goalie is really good, so I'm not too concerned.
I'll say it this way: if the goaltender gets hurt, what's her name, by the way?
Hannah Pooley.
Hannah Pooley.
Hannah Pooley. You know where Hannah's from? Pressure.
She's from Wyoming.
Wyoming. Wow. Okay, so I'll ask this question: if Hannah gets hurt,
Yeah, Lexi's in that.
Lexi's is this how it's working, Lexi?
I don't think so.
So somebody's getting thrown under the bus here. I don't know. You guys want to nominate somebody right now, or are you guys just going to pull a name out of the hat and?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what coach thinks. So you guys have been practicing on the ice for about 3 weeks, and you guys told me that coach had you over at Evolve U working you guys.
Yep.
And is that a tough thing to do when you're here to play hockey and you're running over on a floor and trying to do things, Amy? Is it tough?
Well, a coach owning her own gym, yeah, it does make it tough. She goes all out on us, but no, it's definitely like a positive thing that's going to go towards our game.
So a non-hockey guy here now. You got to understand. Never played hockey, can hardly skate. I don't even know what you would call me on skates would be skating even. What do you guys do dry land? I know that's what we call it. What do you do dry land, Lexi, to get ready for hockey? What do you guys do? Or is she just getting you in shape?
Well, we were just getting in shape mostly. Working our core, running a little bit, lifting a little bit, just to get back into shape, I think, mostly.
Get the summer softness out of you guys and work you back up. So now what's been the kind of maybe the focus for coach and you guys during your skating time with the first few weeks of practice, Amy?
I think it's mostly been about all of us bonding and all of us getting used to each other because me and Hannah, we don't know any of these girls. The majority of them are from Fort and here, and they all kind of know who each other are, and she just wants us to all get together as a team and try to become one, so it works on the ice, and that we actually are able to work together on the ice.
I was just thinking about this. You're talking about communication and working on the ice. I just realized you don't even have 10. You don't even have 12 skaters. So you can't even really skate 5-on-5. So we work on a lot of 4-on-4, kind of on the power play type of thing. Lexi, is that how it kind of works out?
I think our plan is to run 3 defense and 5 forwards and rotate. And rotate and rotate. That's all we got.
And see what happens. So scrimmaging in practice, is there somebody else coming in? Do they have a couple of
non-women's? Shows off her skills quite a bit.
She still has it? Is that what you're?
She still has
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so now that makes 9 skaters.
Yeah. And
only one goaltender, so it's tough to go end to end. Does it make it tough in practice, or is it okay to work on just offensive and neutral zone stuff? Is that kind of the idea, Amy?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's we have it to our advantage because then we're always working hard since there's a limited amount of us, and I think that it really will show when the game time comes.
Who are some of the other girls you guys? You were mentioned most of them are from the Falls and Fort. So Lexi, I told you guys had to have these names down before we went on. So let's see now. We got you two.
We have Kayla Klopstead. She's from Silver Bay, Minnesota. We have Avery King. She's from Fort Francis. Katie Visser is from Fort Francis. Hannah Pooley. Amber, she is going to play second semester, I think. And I think we have another girl coming second semester as well from North Dakota.
Chelsea?
Yeah, Chelsea Cabate. She's from Fort Francis, I think.
I think so, yeah.
And, of course, Claire and Palm, both of those ladies on the volleyball team. And so I assume with the season for the volleyball team ending today, you guys will be happy to bring in a couple.
Starting Monday.
Starting on Monday. No rest for those. Girls,
no.
Get your skates on and let's go to work. I believe that the first games are next weekend, yes?
Yep.
Against?
Lakehead
University. Home or away?
Home.
Home. Times?
7 o'clock on Saturday and 11 o'clock on Sunday.
See, wow, you guys did your homework. I like this. See, things taken care of. That's the way of things. And so at Bronco Arena or over at Cary Park?
Bronco Arena.
Bronco Arena. You've been through this. Amy hasn't. Lexi, better to play at Bronco or better to play at Cary Park?
Bronco.
Because?
I don't know. I think it's a nicer-ish arena.
How about when it gets cold? How about when it's like 20 below outside?
Yeah, it's definitely warmer too. The warmer arena.
Harder ice make it better though. I've heard people say they prefer to play at Cary Park, especially when it gets cold because the ice is is harder and faster and
Yeah.
maybe a little truer, I guess. Like I
Yeah.
said, non-hockey guy now here. I don't do those things. You would agree with that?
Yeah.
But you'd prefer to play at Carey Park.
Yeah.
It's home, right?
Yeah.
It's where we do things. What kind of expectations does the team have going into this 27-18 season?
Well, I think that the last team that they had finished was second in nationals, so I think there is a little bit of a high expectation for us to be where they finished. But we're a whole new team. We don't even know what we're going to be like. So we'll have to just wait and see.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I know I talked with and we've been talking about her endlessly here. I really haven't mentioned that it's Erin Hall, everybody. Sorry, but you make these assumptions in your brain. Coach Erin talked to me here maybe a month ago, and she said, it was really tough putting a schedule together because it was so late in the game, and we didn't have a team last year, so a lot of teams were putting their schedules together assuming that we wouldn't be there. So you guys kind of have a limited schedule. Do you even know how many games are on there? I think I saw like a dozen or 14 only. Does that seem right? Or have maybe some more been
I know we have
added?
very few, but Aaron is actually working on getting us quite a few more games, considering I think say Scholastica dropped out. So we lost 4 games.
Ooh.
Say Scholastica, yeah.
We were trying to pick up a tournament in,
ACC and Brandon back home for me.
but
I don't think that worked out.
yeah.
Okay.
But we're still trying to pick up some more games as we go.
Yeah.
So it's something it seemed to me there was a break in there, and I know there's always a break in the season when the first semester ends right around mid-December, and then usually there weren't any games till maybe mid-January or later, and you guys have got a pretty big break in there right now. If I remember looking at the schedule, like seven weeks off. That's not a good thing, right? I mean,
No.
as you try, I'm sure coach is trying to fill that in, and Mel Millerburn trying to fill that in. But is it tough to get a season going and then take that long a break and then try to kick it back into gear, Amy?
Yeah, it is. I find that if you take that big of a break off too, everybody just kind of loses their role, kind of. If we're all playing well and then we just stop, and I feel like it'll affect our performance probably.
There'll also be a few weeks off, I'm sure, when everybody goes home for the holidays.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, where you're not really skating as a team. But once like I said, non-hockey guy now, is it easy to get back out on the ice though and get that communication and those skills playing with each other again? Is it different than, say, softball or some of these other sports? Talk a little bit about that. Is it tough to get back in there, or is it easy for hockey to get in there and just go out and start playing with each other again?
I think for this team, for me, it'll be a little bit tougher because I have never played with these girls. If it was with girls that I've played with before, it will be a little bit easier because I already know how they are. But I think with this team, it'll be a bit of a challenge for me at least. I don't know about you, Alexa.
Considering we've never even played as a team yet, I don't really know what to expect.
Sure.
I don't know. We've never had everyone at one practice yet, so still kind of.
Never even thought about it. Yeah, you guys with the couple women on the volleyball team, you guys really have not had a full practice yet, so it makes it even more interesting. What have you guys kind of set some goals? I mean, what have you guys kind of sat down as a team or with the coach and kind of said, look, at the end of the season, if we are 500 or if we win 3/4 of our games, have you guys talked about anything like that, or are you waiting until the volleyball ladies get in and then kind of sit down and think about what you guys would like to accomplish?
I think we're waiting on the volleyball girls because they are our teammates and they do need to be included in everything. So
Yeah. I think let them finish focusing on volleyball, and then once that's over.
Ladies, I appreciate you coming in this morning, and we wish you best of luck next weekend at home. 7 o'clock on Saturday, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. That's a tough time to play on a Sunday to boot.
Yeah.
11 a.m. next week as they take on Lakehead, and then hopefully we'll have either you or some other ladies back on maybe in January once you guys get things rolling again, and we'll talk about how the season's going. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Amy Fafard and Lexi Graves joining me here. We'll take a break, and we're going to come back with an interview I taped with the head coach of the Rainy River men's basketball team. We'll come back with that, and you're listening to Coach's Corner live from Hardy's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Coach's Corner, joined by head coach of the Rainy River men's basketball team, Coach Bill Engel. Coach, geez, you've been at it for better than 3 weeks now. How are things progressing for the Voyagers?
Things are going really well. We really like the group of guys that we have in. Kids are working hard. I feel like we're making progress, and everybody's excited about the upcoming season.
Got a couple of scrimmages. I think one out in Thief River Falls and one down in Bemidji, if I remember seeing things maybe correctly. I might be wrong on that, but it doesn't matter. How'd the scrimmages go?
We went to Thief River twice, actually.
Okay.
So we scrimmaged Thief River, obviously, and then Itasca and Fergus Falls, and then we had Oak Hills here. Everything went well. I thought the first week we went out, we had a lot of young guys, and we were really nervous and kind of the deer in the headlights look, and take some time to get over that. And I thought our second round was much better, where we competed at a much higher level and did a good job of sharing the ball and being excited for not only ourselves but for the guys next to us.
Did you see the same thing out of the other teams in Fergus and Thief River and these other teams? Because obviously with the 2-year school, you're always cycling these kids through. It makes it difficult to create a team quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw a lot out of the same things out of the other teams when they played their first scrimmage. They struggled a little bit against different competition. You get so used to just banging into your own guys all the time that now you play against somebody else, and it gets ramped up a little bit, let's say. So I just think the energy of the game and the pace of the game caught some guys off guard, and by our second go round, we were playing much better.
Yeah, talk about the kids that are coming back, the guys that are returning to this team this year that I would guess are going to be the leaders out on the floor for this team.
The two guys coming back for us are J.P. Schifano and Devarius Wright. So really excited about both those guys. They're doing a great job so far, leading us and getting younger guys involved in the community and just on campus and class and doing those things. So really happy with those guys and what they're doing right now, and they understand our league and the level of competition, what it's going to take, and our other guys have responded quite well to that so far.
Yeah, Devarius, one of those, I like to call him a high flyer. If you haven't been out to watch him play, he's worth the price of admission. Can I say it that way? Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely.
He can get above the rim and run and do those things. JP, a good post player, very strong, very physical kid. So a good start for a team that, like what you're mentioning, only 2 kids coming back.
Right, when we ended last year, everybody was a sophomore except for those 2. So we're really happy to retain those 2 guys coming back. Devarius has a lot of interest from a number of different schools, from very high-level NAI schools all the way up to some small Division I schools. So he knows he's got a lot riding on this, but he's such a good kid and so involved with the team that he's not worried about himself. He's really worried about the team having success. So love that. JP is just the same way. Wants to see the team succeed. He's expanded his game. He's shooting the ball really well right now, as well as being able to get the ball inside and just overpower some people. So we're really lucky and blessed to have those guys.
Talk about a couple of the new guys maybe that have, you obviously get a chance to recruit these kids in, but talk about maybe somebody who's maybe really caught your eye even through the first few weeks of practice here. You're kind of going, he's better in person than he was on tape or when I saw him last winter.
A couple of guys there. Eddie Mercedes is a transfer who's coming in. He's from Miami. He's a point guard. He's been really good. It's taken him a while to sort of get his feet wet. He's been off for a couple of years, but it seems like the longer we go, the better he gets. His leadership skills are emerging, and his on-ball defense is extraordinary. He's very, very quick, and just one of those kids who's a pest all over the place. Another one is Anthony Mera. Anthony's also from Miami, and Anthony's done a fantastic job. He's just got a really high motor. The kid just sort of never quits. He's kind of that 5'11", 6-foot wing that can shoot the ball, that can go to the basket, and he just sort of drives you nuts if he guards you. He's the kind of kid you just don't want to play against, and you just love to have on your team. So, I'm really happy with those guys, and there's a number of guys on the team that are doing well right now, and just really look forward to seeing how this turns out.
Last year, this team made it to the Region 13 tournament, a very lofty accomplishment for the team. Where does this team sit in comparison to last year's team? I mean, obviously we don't know maybe a lot about the other teams, but where does this team sit in comparison to that team from last season?
If you look at last year's team that did get to the Region 13 tournament, I thought they had played really well and had come a long ways, as far as developing the program, and thankful to all of those guys for what they had done. This year's team is definitely younger. It's the first year in my 3 years here where we've had a handful of guys right out of high school. So, we like having those guys, but that makes a little bit more of an adjustment for them with the speed and physicality of the game. And last year's team was just probably bigger, more mature, a little more physical. This year's team is probably a little quicker, and they shoot the ball really well across the board, whereas, last year we felt like we had one or two guys who really shot it well, and everybody else shot it okay. Nobody was a horrible shooter. And this year we just feel like we're overall probably better shooters and probably a much better team in the full court defending.
Give us a feel for the Northern Division. Obviously, the top 4 teams make the Region 13 tournament, so you want to be in that top 4. But we talk about the Vermilions and the Central Lakes and Northland and these teams always being there, and it's always competitive. Do you feel like you have a team, maybe knowing something about the other teams and getting to scrimmage a little bit? Do you kind of have a feeling maybe you got a chance to be in that top 4, or are you pretty doggone sure it's going to be a top 4 team?
We are absolutely expecting to be in those top 4 now. Any college coach will tell you don't know exactly what's going to happen at Christmas time, whether guys get homesick and decide not to come back, or you have some academic issues that could occur. Not just for us, but for anybody. And we've avoided those here in the last couple of years, and look forward to dealing with it and moving forward and not having those issues. But that being said, we would expect that we'll be in that top 4 with those other teams. I think historically, you're going to have Vermilion, Central Lakes, and Northland that are always right there, it seems like, and then the rest of us sort of fighting for that 4th spot. But our goal here at this program is to put it on the map and be one of those teams, that's going to be there every single year. And we got there last year and felt like we earned that spot at 4th. We didn't sneak into it, and this year we'd like to get in there and be one of those top 3 teams in there. So that's our expectation this year. We know that Central Lakes has Keontae Jenkins returning, who, if people haven't seen him or looked him up, he was a McDonald's All-American a few years ago. And he'll be getting some Division I looks from some different schools as well. And he can come out and he will absolutely fire it from 25 or 30 feet, and it doesn't matter how close you are to him. So a good challenge there for us to want to go out and be able to compete with teams like that and put our name on the map, not only for ourselves and the school, but for the community as well.
First regular season game is when?
November 9th. We go down and we play Dakota College, Technical College, down at Inver Hills.
They're a Division II school, if I remember right. You guys are Division III, so a good challenge to start the season?
Absolutely. They're a Division II school, so they have scholarship money that they're giving guys. We played them last year down there. We beat them by 5, and I'm sure they are revamping their lineup so they can come out and even the score with us. But we'll do our best to compete, and it'll be a good measuring stick for us.
First home games, I believe, December 8th and 9th, or is it 9th and 10th?
I want to say that it is 8th and 9th. Okay. And those will be our only home games before Christmas.
Yeah, it seems like that's pretty commonplace. The schedule always just one weekend series against some southern teams, and then obviously after the break playing on some Wednesdays and Fridays and Saturdays. So season coming approach. Thanks for the time, Coach, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. We'll talk to you soon.
Coach Bill Engel of the Rainy River men's basketball team. We'll take a break and we'll come back with more Coach's Corner. You're listening on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. And thanks to our guest this week for being a part of the show, Coach Bill Engel from the Rainy River men's basketball team. And we taped that interview on Wednesday. Coach Engel on his way down to Texas, getting out of the snow quickly. Big family affair down there this weekend, so I appreciate him taking some time, and of course thanks to Amy Fafard and Lexi Graves from the Rainy River women's hockey team for being a part of the show. I do want to go back. We had a little glitch in the first part of the show. I do want to talk about the volleyball scores from last night. I think that's kind of where we missed, and talk a little bit about the football playoffs coming up. So in Section 7A, 7-3A volleyball last night, Grand Rapids over Princeton, St. Francis over Anoka, Forest Lake over Andover, and Elk River over Blaine. I know maybe those city schools we're not so interested in, but Grand Rapids is the number 1 seed in Section 7-3A, the defending section champions. They do host St. Francis at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. In 7-2A volleyball last night, number 1 North Branch over number 4 Cloquet, number 2 Marshall over number 3 Denfeld. That's out of the south half of the bracket. Greenway, the number 1 seed, they take down Proctor 25-11, 25-9, 25-16. They eliminated the Broncos on Wednesday night. And then Hermantown, the number 2 seed, defeats Virginia in 4 sets. So 1-2 versus 1-2 on Wednesday. Hermantown versus North Branch. Marshall versus Greenway. Those games in Duluth at Duluth-Denfeld High School at 5:30 and 7:30 on Wednesday. In 7A volleyball, number 2 seed Cook County takes down Moose Lake Willow River. Number 1 seed Carleton takes down Cromwell Wright. Cherry got the upset last night of all the teams in Section 7A. They're the number 4 seed. They defeat Deer River, who was the number 1 seed, in 5 sets, and Northwoods, the number 2 seed, defeats Hill City in 4 sets. So sets up semifinals on Wednesday in Hibbing. Northwoods versus Carleton, Cook County versus Cherry, and if you're going by the QRF, should be Carleton and Cook County, the 1 and 2 seeds out of the South, that should win those matches. But hey, that's why they play the games. Of course, big day in high school football today, as the section semifinals going on in 4A. Rapids at North Branch, Hermantown versus Cloquet. That game to be played in Esco. They've got a quadruple header of football being started in about 13 minutes as in Esco, because of the bad weather and the field conditions down in the Duluth area. There's going to be 4 games in a row at 10, 1, 4, and 7 today at Esco. Makes me wish that I was kind of going to be there to enjoy it, but hey, that's the way things go. In 3A, Two Harbors is at Proctor at 2 o'clock. The Agates eliminated the Broncos on Tuesday night. GNK is at Esco at 1 o'clock, part of that quadruple header. In 2A, Moose Lake Willow River against Barnum. Those schools just don't like one another, period. So the exclamation mark, that ought to be a dandy game. That game's going to be played at Esco at 4 o'clock. Aiken is at number 1 seeded Royalton at 2 o'clock in 7-2A. In 7-1A, Deer River is at Hinckley Finlayson, and East Central is at number 1 Bram. 9-man football in Section 5, Floodwood versus Wrenshall. That game gets the quadruple header started at Esco at 10 o'clock. Wrenshall, the favorite there. They're the number 2 seed. And Southridge versus Cromwell Wright. I think Cromwell's ranked about 3 in the state in 9-man football. That game's at 7 o'clock tonight in Cromwell. Section 7, 9-man, Ely at Northwoods at 2 o'clock. MIB at Cook County also at 2 o'clock. Let's talk quickly about the week that was. Let's go back to last Saturday. The Fort Francis Lakers trailed Thief River Falls 2-0 after 1. Noah Loveday scored for the Lakers to cut the deficit in half early in the second period. However, the Norskis would score the only other goal of the game last Saturday. They would defeat Fort Francis 3-1. The Fort Francis girls and boys hockey team, Muskie boys and girls hockey teams were up in Winnipeg last weekend. Fort Francis girls went 4-1, and they won their tournament. They won 2-0, 6-0. Lost to Vincent Massey 6-4, then defeated Selkirk 5-0, and then they got back at Vincent Massey in the championship game. They won 8-3. How about this for a stat line? C.C. Hayes scores 6 of those 8 goals in that game for Fort Francis as the girls win the tournament up in Winnipeg last Saturday. The Fort Francis boys also went 4-1, and they took 5th place in their 16-team tournament. They won 3-1, 6-1, lost 6-2, and then won 7-1 and 5-4. They had John Bush had a couple of big games in there. Cole Allen also for the Muskies, among others along the way. On Monday, I was down in Big Fork to open the Section 7A playoffs, where the Little Fork Big Falls Viking girls were playing. They took on the number 5 seed Huskies, and the Vikings would have their season ended by Big Fork with a sweep by scores of 25-18, 25-21, and 25-14. Danica Clemenson had 5 ace serves and 15 set assists. Mackenzie Swenson had 5 kills. The Viking girls ended their season with a 4-20 record. The Bronco football team traveled to Two Harbors. This is kind of an unbelievable stat. They went to Two Harbors for the 4th time in 5 years to open the Section 7 3A playoffs. The Agates just overpowered the Broncos. 3 TDs in the first quarter, 5 more in the second. Was 55-0 at half. The Broncos would lose by a final of 68-6. The lone touchdown for the Broncos was scored by Max Olson on a 35-yard touchdown pass from Garrett Koenig. The Broncos end their season with an 0-9 record. The Little Fork Big Falls Vikings football team, as far as this reporter was concerned, got late notice that they were going to be playing their playoff game. I didn't find out till Friday that they were going to be playing in Grand Marais against Cook County. Cook County led 40-0 after a quarter and defeated the Vikings 70-0. The Vikings end their season with a 1-8 record. Also on Tuesday, the Bronco girls swimming and diving team took part in a quadrangular down in Virginia against Virginia, Proctor, Hermantown, and North Shore. Broncos did well, I think. Came away with a second place with 322 points behind the host team. The Blue Devils had 345. Top finishes for the Broncos in that meet. Third place for the 200 medley relay of Macy Marcotte, Whitney Gwynn, Braden Aker, and Ellie Nelson. Third place in the 400 free relay, Ellie Nelson, Lindsay Lucy, Emma Erickson, and Amelia Stewart. Amelia also took fourth in the 50 free, third in the 100 free. Whitney Gwynn was first in diving and fourth in the 100 breaststroke. Natalie Hergis took second in diving. Lindsay Lucy second in the 100 butterfly, third in the 100 backstroke. Emma Erickson took fourth in the 500 free. On Wednesday night, game heard on K104 and KSDM radio, radio.com, rjbroadcasting.com. The number 4 seeded Bronco volleyball team hosted the number 5 seed Proctor Rails in the opening round of the Section 7 2A tournament. Close to seeds you can get, 4 and 5 in the match. Definitely played out that way. Proctor took the first set 27-25 after the Broncos had a set point. The second set would go to the Broncos 26-24 to tie it at a set each. The Falls built a 17-11 lead in set 3, and it looked like they were on their way. However, the Rails would score 14 of the last 19 points in that set, win 25-22, and then the Rails would bounce the Broncos from the playoffs, winning set 4 25-18. Tia Goulet, 29 digs, Jenna Sullivan, 12 kills, Bianca Carlson, 29 set assists, 15 digs, 3 kills, 3 blocks. Bailey Millette, 6 kills and 4 blocks. Emma Gilbert, who came back finally after her severe ankle injury, she had 7 kills. The Broncos ended their season with a 13-10 record. On Thursday, the Bronco boys and girls cross country teams were down in Cloquet. The boys end up taking 6th place with 159. North Shore, in this person's mind, the surprise winner over GNK. North Shore 52, GNK 69. It wasn't even really close. Justin Besch was 22nd, Jake Erickson 25th, Hunter Wilson 32nd, Joe Glowak 38th, and John Kalman 52nd for the placers for the boys team. The girls take 13th as a team. Proctor was in first with 79. North Shore right behind in second with 81. Of course, the top 2 teams go to state. Ryan Ford led the way for the Broncos. She finished 29th. Avery Sylvonen 49th. Bailey Herberg 55th. Ellen Wendell 75th. And Nora Sullivan 78th. The Muskie football team was supposed to play their playoff game on Thursday. That was postponed, of course, due to all the bad weather that we've had earlier this week. The girls swimming and diving team had their final dual meet. They were down in Aurora taking on Wasabi East. The Giants downed the Broncos 101-80. Emma Erickson took second in the 200 free. Whitney Gwynn second in the 100 breaststroke. Lindsay Lucy first in the 500 free and second in the 200 IM. Amelia Stewart second in the 50 free, and Haven Pellin took second in the 100 fly. Last night, the Rainy River volleyball team was at home. They hosted the number 1 team in the Northern Division, Central Lakes. The Voyagers were defeated 3-0. They'll be at home at noon today as they take on the Northland Pioneers in their regular season and season finale. The Lakers lost last night in Thief River by a score of 5-2. They will play the Norskies again tonight at 7 o'clock in that match there against the Norskies, who have not lost this season. They are 11-0 on the season. The Fort Francis hockey team, girls hockey team, lost 2-0 in their tournament opener at home last night in the Scott Clendenning Memorial Showcase. They played today at 12:15 and at 6:15. The Bronco bowling team looking to wrap up a perfect regular season. They're down in Grand Rapids today for a noon meet. What else is going on? Well, the Rainy River women's basketball team, they've got a scrimmage tomorrow to get their season started. They'll be at home at 1 o'clock tomorrow for the a scrimmage against Providence, and then the Scott Clendenning tournament will wrap up tomorrow in Fort Francis. Girls hockey practice for the Broncos gets started on Monday as the coach Gerald Bolstead back for his, let me try to do them. I think it's his 9th season, just off the top of my head. I'm going to go with that number. I might be wrong. It's a pretty blank week, though, however, as a lot of tournament volleyball and football going on. But for local area sports, nothing going on until Friday when the Lakers are at home against Thunder Bay. On Saturday, the Lakers travel to Dryden. The Muskie girls hockey team will be down in Bemidji for a scrimmage against a couple of teams down there. And as we mentioned earlier, the Rainy River women's hockey team will open their season at 7 o'clock at Bronco Arena against Lakehead. One other final note before we head off the air here. I want to let everybody know about Bronco Wrestling. The wrestling program back for a few years. a big change in the program. We are now co-opted with GNK, Greenway Nashua Keewatin, so that the boys or girls, depending upon, because it is not just a boys sport, will be paired up with GNK so that they can go take part in dual meets and tournaments and be wrestling and have those kinds of practice. The wrestling team is having a sign-up this Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the home ec room at the high school on Wednesday, November 1st, again at 6 o'clock. Obviously, this changes things. They're looking for guys or gals who want to come out and be a part of this team. It's going to make it a whole lot more interesting, considering that they're going to be on the road, traveling to practices a few times a week, once a week for sure, maybe twice a week, as they will be practicing with GNK. You can get hold of Jeremy Mann at 218-244-3622, or give Mike Holden a call at 218-324-3569. And again, if you need those numbers, you can go onto the Bronco Facebook page and follow on there. Those numbers are there. I posted it a couple of days ago. You should be able to find it there. Thanks to Chad back at the station for pushing all the buttons. Thanks to our guests again. Thanks to everybody here at Hardee's for taking care of our guests, especially to Dave Peterson and everything that he does for the local sports teams here in International Falls. But thank you most of all for listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardee's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com.